A terrifying evil has reemerged in Beacon Hills, and Scott McCall must gather his pack and reunite with allies both old and new to take on one of the most powerful and deadliest enemies yet. Hello, entertainment enthusiasts. This is Ray, and this is the Fandom Realm, and today I'm recapping and reacting to Teen Wolf the movie. As always, there will be spoilers, so just be aware. All right, everybody, before I get started with this, I do just want to say I'm sorry that it took so long to get this Teen Wolf reaction out there. I've had all sorts of difficulties. This was the first show that I was trying to do any kind of video on, and let's just say we've had issues with the copyright Nazis. And so hopefully everything's going to be fixed in this part, and we can get it all uploaded pretty quickly. I do just want to say, while there's going to be clips, I'm not going to recap every second of every clip. I'm going to be talking in general about some things and that were going on, but I'm also going to be giving my reaction to what was going on. Then at the end, I am going to throw in a few thoughts and conclusions and questions and sort of give you an idea of sort of what I thought about the movie as a whole, maybe a few other things at the end. So with that, let's get started watching Teen Wolf the movie. Now, before I get started, I just want to say I am using a background of Styles. Since we don't have Dylan O'Brien, I thought we would put him in our review anyway. So we open the movie with the box that the Nogitsune was being kept in. Of course, we know that went out of town with Isaac. And we are introduced here to Hikari and Liam, and they're working at this bar or restaurant, maybe a Chinese type restaurant. And I'm not sure exactly what's going on there, but the man in black comes in, and he is definitely a threat. And he's sounding like he knows things about the Nogitsune. And so he is going to end up following them outside, and he's going to want to make a deal with the Nogitsune if he lets the Nogitsune out of the box. And of course, everybody's yelling, "Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it." Of course, at this point, we have no clue who the man in black is, but once we find out who it is, you watch it again, you think, oh, I should have known that's who it was. So we actually skip to Los Angeles, and we have a situation here where Scott has actually done some help to get a kid out of sort of like a drain hole or something. And we know that he's running an animal shelter very near to Deaton. And after everything's over, it's going to be raining that night, and Scott is going to hallucinate Allison coming to the clinic. He's also going to be visited by Chris, who says he is hearing things and seeing things Allison-wise. And then we get to go to Lydia, who has done a presentation all about Allison. And Lydia was looking great there, by the way. That white suit and red lipstick, awesome. Now we get our first intro to Eli Hell here, and I'm going to tell you, I think he was the star of the show. He was awesome, loved him to death, and of course he was obsessed with Styles' Jeep, and here he has stolen it from Derek's garage, and Derek and Sheriff Stilinski retrieve it. Again, I really liked Eli, and especially his chemistry with Derek. Now we're going to reunite Lydia and Scott, and she is actually coming with the theory that they need the dirt from where Allison died, so they have come to that building where they were fighting, and Scott actually jams his hand into that dirt to get some of it. They're meeting back somewhere in Beacon Hills, and we find Jackson, and Jackson says something about, Lydia and Styles. And of course, we do get a short scene there with Derek and Eli. Eli sort of shirking being a werewolf a little bit, and it's not making Derek too awful happy. This is a sort of a steamy scene here. The first time I can remember any nudity in Teen Wolf, and that is with Malia and Parrish. So we get to see some butts here. And of course, I have blurred that out a little bit there so that YouTube doesn't get mad at me. So we're going to go out eventually, and Scott, Malia, and Lydia are looking in the woods, and they've been followed, by Eli. Which, that's a little weird, because that clip was supposed to be a little different there. Okay, but Scott actually pulls Eli out from behind the tree, and Eli's going to help them find the Nemeton. And with that, they're in a situation where they're going to take the dirt, they're going to take the sword, they're going to take and put that on the Nemeton, and when all's said and done, Allison is going to reappear, or something that looks like Allison. As they take Allison away, you're going to basically have the Nogitsune appear out of the Nemeton. Now we move back to the sheriff's station, and this is moving along a little bit, and there is basically a deputy there who is a kitsune, and the Nogitsune is going to steal his tails. We do get Allison, who is being haunted by the Nogitsune, and it's going to take her mom's form. I thought that was sort of emotional. Eventually, Allison does go after Derek, and so with that, you have a situation where you see there she was actually trying to kill Derek, and she was saved by Hikari and Liam. Of course, we get a lot of people being killed or sent to another realm. Mason was one of the first. We do get to see Peter. He comes in and burns Derek's wound that Allison, where she had shot him. And so, Peter being back, he's always a little bit of fun. And the fact that he was able to do to Derek what Derek had done to him in a earlier episode in the season, I thought was a little bit funny. Now, with everything going on, Eli has snuck to the garage. Allison followed him, and he's injured. And now Scott is going to force him to heal by alpha roaring. And I was wondering when they were going to do that. So Eli actually is going to escape, and he ends up almost causing Sheriff Stilinski to wreck, and he's going to be found there on the road. While Eli's going one way, Allison is chasing Scott the other. And eventually she is going to wound him. He is moving on, and they keep sort of progressing there. We get to see Hikari and Liam go down to the Oni, and they're getting put to another world. We're going to get Deaton gone here, and we're also going to see Derek eventually go out here as well. And Liam is going to run for the time being. Of course, that's all sort of upsetting. I was surprised they went down as easy as possible. Liam's going to be angry, so he finally stands up, and he's going to attack the Oni, and it doesn't work out too well. I thought that was a little funny. Allison has Scott up on this ledge. I think we've seen this ledge before when they walk up on it and will howl out over Beacon Hills or wherever. And so Scott's needing Allison to listen to him. So he actually ends up grabbing her dagger and stabbing himself with it. And that is to sort of get her to listen to him. And it works. They're going to stagger around for a while. But we're going to end up in a situation here where Malia, Lydia, they are with Parrish trying to figure out what's going on. Or they're going to end up with Parrish trying to figure out what's going on. And they go out to investigate where some of the fires had been set. And, of course, Malia and Parrish are going to go look for silver. Lydia, with the help of Jackson, are going to realize that rowan trees are what's being burned, and they make mountain ash. Again, we're back to Allison and Scott, and we have a situation here where Scott mentions the code, the new code that Allison had come up with, and she remembers. They do get into a building, and Scott is basically dying, and Allison has the opportunity to help him. But with that, the situation is very similar to, I believe it was episode season 3A. They had a situation sort of like that, where she had to help him on the bus ride where he was injured. So Eli gets basically transferred to the illusion, and he's going to get to talk to Derek. And we see the rest of the group is okay. Eli reveals to Derek that he is healed, and it's because Scott basically made him do it, and Derek's very proud of him and what was going on there. Now, we start moving a little bit later here into our movie, and they are in a situation where they're basically not in reality, but it's right where the lacrosse tournament is being held. And so Peter and Melissa show up, and they're figuring out something's going on at the lacrosse game. We do get to hear Lydia while she's talking there with Parrish. She's mentioning who came up with the formula for what burned the Hell House down. And if you know anything about that time, we know that was Harris. And so the bad guy here is Harris. And just hasn't yet. I don't think they revealed him there. I will say, a couple of these clips, I don't think, it's sort of interesting. I didn't think they were the clips I used. But we're going to skip on to Scott, who has basically convinced Allison to help him. Moving to the Nogitsune, basically harassing poor Eli, and Eli is going to get thrown back into the game. Allison's going to burn Scott, and when she does, everybody's going to hear it. All the other werewolves are going to respond. Their eyes are going to turn color. Derek and Eli and Liam, they all end up turning colors and are going to be in a situation where they're hearing Scott's call. Now, the interesting thing there is Derek actually gets to see Eli's eyes turn for once. Very proud of that, and they make a little joke there with Eli about not being able to see his eyes because he's using them. Apparently, our lacrosse game is turned bad, and it's now getting close to being tied, if not tied. I couldn't really tell there. Allison and Scott are in the stadium, and Scott tells Allison he still loves her. Here we have Lydia and Jackson, and they're getting ready to get identified with, or identify Harris, who has put down mountain ash at the lacrosse stadium. I love that scene of Scott and Liam bashing into the barrier. Of course, here Harris is revealed, and you see the big slash on his neck where Jennifer Blake should have killed him. I'll be honest, I'm still not exactly sure where he came from or how he survived. But he was never, I don't think he was ever shown to actually be dead. It is finally decided here with Coach that Scott is going to go in and play lacrosse. It's funny. It's not realistic at all. There's no way this would ever happen in real life. Well, of course, it just did, because in a basketball game, a girls' basketball game, I think in Texas or somewhere, a 23-year-old assistant coach actually dressed up and played basketball and scored in a game with like high school girls. Craziness. We next get to see Derek talking to Stilinski about basically what happened with Eli and why he doesn't want to turn. Moving back to Lacrosse, you basically have a situation here. Scott is rusty. He destroys the scoreboard. And so that's a bad start. We get an explanation for Styles and Lydia and why they were broken up. That's extremely important. Lydia had basically what she thought were premonitions of her and Styles being in a wreck, and because that, she thought if she broke up with him and was never in the car with them, it would never happen. So take that as you may. We'll talk about it later. Because of Eli, the team ends up winning, and so that's going to get us started. Basically, Peter attacks Allison, but Allison's going to get out of it and end up having her father-daughter moment with Chris. We're getting to see the illusion now from Parrish and Malia's standpoint. We're going to get to see our Oni ready to fight Allison and Scott. I love her little statement there that she's killed Oni before, she can kill more. I thought that was a nice little throwback for them. Malia has to sort of get on Parrish a little bit. He's sort of being weak, and he hasn't used his powers really in a long time, but he ends up getting the barrier down. I thought it was very interesting that most of these people don't seem to have used their powers forever. Now, during the fight there, that was extremely important. If you don't know, Hikari actually ended up giving Scott her Foxfire. We'll see that in just a minute. While Allison was being attacked, Lydia is actually going to use her Banshee ability to kill some of the Oni. And when she does, it makes Allison flash back and basically remember everything from her past. And so this is basically what she needed to get that last little bit of negativity or darkness out of her. Now, the Nogitsune has Eli, and he is not in a very good position. He's going to tell Scott, basically, hey, if you die, I'll let everybody go. And Scott convinces Allison to shoot him. And boy, she shoots him 3 or 4 times right in the smack dab in the heart. And when this happened, I thought, what in the hell is going on here? And then Scott basically revealed that he wasn't ready to die, but the Nogitsune had already released them. And he shows that the Foxfire is going to burn the arrows, and he's going to be okay. The Nogitsune is going to be extremely mad, and actually Allison's going to end up shooting him in the head. Of course, here we see the Foxfire going back to her, and so with that, we're going to get a fight. We're eventually going to get our boy, the Nogitsune, getting an arrow to the head. We'll get to that in just a second. Of course, Chris and the gang come in, and they end up sort of wrecking the Oni with Silver. Jackson's actually going to do something. He has one of the daggers, and he's going to stab Harris. Of course, we had to have our Derek and Eli moment where they both used their powers. And of course, Derek's sort of going to spur him on here because Derek does a little roar and gets him to change. I thought that was a little funny, just the look on his face. I love this Vince Mattis as Eli Hell, and I hope we get to see more of him in more movies and hopefully other series. Now, here's a part that was very interesting because this harkens back to 3B, where the Scott actually turned the Nogitsune into a wolf. So this is sort of a combo Nogitsune wolf here with green eyes, of course, all the powers. and the pack is going to attack. And it's going to be led by Derek, Scott, and Eli. I'm not sure why Eli's up front right now, but then we've got the rest of the group in the back. He's going to put them in another basically fake illusion all by themselves, and we're going to get to see him attacking them. Eventually, Scott is going to talk to them, and they're going to decide they have to all roar. And as they do, they're able to get the upper hand on the Nogitsune. And we're going to come back into a little more of the reality. Okay, now it's not really reality, but it's sort of reality for us. We're going to get to a point where they have the Nogitsune on the fake Nematon, and Parrish is wanting to burn him, but somebody needs to help hold them. Eli's already been pitched off. Scott has been pitched off, and basically Derek's going to hold the Nogitsune while Parrish burns him and basically explodes him, and that's going to kill the Nogitsune. Well, sadly, it also killed Derek. I think probably everybody had a little bit of a tear in their eye there. The really good thing is it looks like maybe Derek did die as a true alpha, or at least the alpha, as his blue eyes turned red as an alpha. Of course, we've seen him with red eyes before back in season 2, but this was very sad the way he went. But he did go out, I think, a hero, and I'm glad for that. And I really like the idea that maybe he went out as a true alpha. And we'll talk more about that maybe in a few minutes when we do our sort of recap. So the Nogitsune is dead at this point. He just blew up. And of course, the illusion is going to fade. And as it does, poor Eli, you just totally, you're heartbroken for him. And he just lost his dad. And, he's just becoming a wolf that he was very proud of. And so I like this idea of matching Eli up with Scott and making him like a father figure and bringing Allison back to make them as a family. Of course, at the funeral, Scott is talking about you don't always choose your family. You're not really born into your family. And he talks about when Derek called him his brother. Of course, the funny thing there is when Scott called Liam brother, and that caused all kinds of issues. I love that scene in that episode. Eli is going to, he's going to be sort of skulking around, and Stilinski is going to give him the keys to the Jeep. Doesn't know how his dad would have reacted, but his dad kept going and was strong, and he says a lot of good things about Derek here to Eli, and something that, you just keep that Jeep running and just keep it running and things will be okay, is basically the point he's trying to get across here. With that, we're going to get to see Eli driving the Jeep, sort of in a situation where he's sad there, but he's heading down the road. And our basically next scene, we are back apparently in Los Angeles at the kennel, or the kennel that Scott works at. And we have Allison there with him. And also we have Eli and Deaton. And they're talking about dog adoptions, but they're also talking about, hey, down the road, adopting Eli when he's ready for it. And then Scott tells Allison that he loves her, and basically how important it was to have her back, and he never stopped loving her. And then we're going to move on to the last scene, and the car is driving down the road with Harris, and it pulls over, and out comes the doctor from Eichenhaus. This is Tyler Posey's real-life dad, and they take Harris off to Eichenhaus. Okay, now, of course, I did almost forget this awesome scene of Eli walking out on the ledge overlooking Beacon Hills and looking back towards the camera with his wolf eyes yellow. He's in his wolf makeup, and he just looks really awesome there. Now, with that being said, I do want to talk a little bit about sort of my reaction to the movie and to sort of what's being said about the movie. First off, I quite enjoyed the movie. I do believe there are some small flaws. There are a couple little things wrong with most movies, and I'm going to discuss those real quickly right now. The first flaw, and probably the biggest that I have with it, is it seems like they tried to put too much into the movie. Too many characters with too much stuff to do, and we didn't get to really explore a lot of these characters. And I know a lot of people have complained about that. That is a slight negative to me, but I'm going to tell people, you get what you wish for. All these folks who want Teen Wolf and Teen Wolf movies or a new series, it's only going to be so long. And as far as we know, Jeff Davis only has a deal for one movie. I think he has an option for 2 more. But with that, he knows Teen Wolf fandom. We can be fickle. And if he left people out, we're going to get upset. So I think he tried to add a lot of people, a lot of characters back in, especially knowing that Styles wasn't going to be returning. And with that, he just tried to do a little bit too much with it. Now, that is my one small complaint. My second small complaint is redoing the Nogitsune storyline. I thought they had set that apart. They had ended that. I wished he would have found something new, a newer storyline that they could have achieved almost the same thing. I thought he did a very good job of pulling it off. Don't get me wrong. But I just wish they would have maybe gone a different way. And then maybe just a little bit, every now and then, the CGI and graphics seem to be off just a little bit. But other than that, I did enjoy the show. Let's talk about sort of the main themes here. The first big thing is Allison returning. I'm actually really glad to see this. For anybody that is a Teen Wolf fan, you know that Crystal Reed left Teen Wolf after season 3 after season 3A, because basically she was having, it seems like what was in the Teen Wolf space at the time is that she was having troubles because she was significantly older than the rest of the cast. When they started filming Teen Wolf and Dylan O'Brien and Tyler Posey were like 18, 19, she was 26 or 27. And so, that's a big difference sometimes. And sometimes it's going to feel hard to fit in. And I think that is one of the reasons why she left. That is one of the reasons why she said she left. And so with that, I was very glad to see they brought her back. I think from the very beginning, it was supposed to be Scott and Allison together. And one of the things I wonder about is I remember seeing in an early episode of one of these like Wolf Watches, one of the shows that they would do after a Teen Wolf episode would come on, Jeff Davis once said, and it might have been in another interview, that he had mapped out exactly what he saw as the last episode of Teen Wolf. And I wonder if that's sort of maybe what we got here with Allison and Scott, maybe having some werewolf that they're planning on adopting. Maybe not Eli, but some other one. Now, moving on as well, I'm going to tell you, I thought Eli Hell made this movie. I loved every scene he was in. I will at some point make a video. Just so I can have it to run back everything that he said. Very fresh actor, and I hope we get to see him in more Teen Wolf. And I'm actually going to start looking for him in other media and other entertainment as well. Also, he had a very good chemistry with Derek, and I thought that was very important. And to the fact that they had Derek be a father, I thought that was very nice. And so I enjoyed that storyline, and that's something I enjoyed. I enjoyed bringing Allison back and getting her turned back to the light side. I enjoyed all that. I know some people couldn't stand it, but I really enjoyed it. Now, also, I do want to mention one thing, and I missed the clip on this, and I apologize for that. I thought I had clipped it, but it apparently didn't clip where I thought. But it's when we saw the entire show basically came down to one statement by the Nogitsune, or actually it wasn't the Nogitsune, it was made by Harris when he told Lydia that it was all one big illusion and how much power it took in order to hold that illusion. And that's something I think everyone needs to take into account when you're trying to figure out what exactly was going on out on that lacrosse field when it was the illusion. Okay? Because a lot of things happened there that wouldn't really have happened in real life if they would have been just on that lacrosse field. The only thing I'm aware of that for sure could have happened would have been characters dying. Okay. Now, there are some other things, I'm still up in the air about when we talk about this episode of exactly figuring out where it fits in. But as I've watched this movie a little bit more, a couple extra times, things are fitting into place. So that might be something that you can go out and do is watch it more times and things are going to fit in for you a little better. Now, those are some of the things I really liked in the movie. And of course, I would have liked to have seen Melissa have more time. I would have liked to have seen Jackson have more time and do more things. Of course, I would have liked to have seen a situation where we got a better description of, hey, why in the world does Liam have the box that the Nogitsune is in? We know he didn't have it originally. We also didn't really know what's going on with Liam. Where did this Hikari person come from? There are some things going on that it would have been good to know. But as I have told people, there are apparently two options that Jeff Davis has for new movies. So if we can get this one popular enough and watched enough, there's a possibility we will get some of these answers. Now, of course, another big thing that was going on and talked about is the death of Derek Hell. And I really thought this was done well. He dies a hero. He dies as a true alpha. I mentioned a few of these in the recap, so I'm not going to go back through everything. His son got to see him as a hero. And I think that's how Derek always wanted to die, okay, is he wanted people to see him as a hero, as someone who was working or trying to achieve for the good. I do think it's very interesting that they chose to have him die by fire because, of course, the house set on fire. They brought back Harris, who was part of that whole plot. He had come up with the chemical formula for what was used to burn the house down. And so I thought that was a very interesting way to bring maybe Derek Hell's storyline to a close. And I'm going to tell you, I know a lot of people are talking about maybe the second and third Teen Wolf movies, if they're ever made. A lot of people are talking about maybe those will bring Derek Hell back. And I'm going to tell you, I don't think so. I think Tyler Hoechlin, even more so than Dylan O'Brien, is ready to end with Teen Wolf. I think he did a great job in this movie. And, these actors came back and basically because they loved Teen Wolf. And so with that, I think probably Tyler Hoechlin's involvement with Teen Wolf is probably over. And yes, that is sad. But what I want to see is really a new generation of Teen Wolves take to the television screen. Now, one other thing I want to just address before I get out of here is we seem to have not learned anything in the Teen Wolf fandom, and we do have a large group of folks out there that want to be haters. And I am completely fine for anybody who disagrees with me or disagrees with someone else about if a show, a movie, a series is good or bad. That's fine. Problem is, for me, are you being sincere? Now, I've heard a lot of people and read a lot of reviews on especially YouTube where people are totally trashing the movie. I mean, they're giving it like 1s and 2s, which is totally ridiculous. But the problem with that is if you read most of those reviews, most of what they're saying, almost all of it goes back to they can't stand it because there's no Styles. Or they're mad at Jeff Davis because they wouldn't pay Arden Cho to come back because they wouldn't pay a certain level. And I'm not getting into that debate, okay? That's not what I'm here for. I'm just saying if those are feelings that you had going into this movie, you probably should just leave it alone and not do an evaluation because you were never, ever going to like this movie. So don't ruin it for the rest of us. We love this series. We love this world. We want to see more of it. We want more of Scott. We want more of Beacon Hills. We want more of Eli Hell. But if you can't say something good or you don't have a valid reason for something, then stay out of it, please. Now, everyone, I think I've basically covered everything I wanted to on the Teen Wolf movie. I will just say I apologize if anything got off a little bit on the recap portion. There were a lot of things that still seem to be wanting to go wrong with this. I'm hoping it's actually going to let me post it, and so that you all will see it today on 2/7, which is going to be February the 7th. Now, with that, basically, I do want to give Teen Wolf a movie a grade. I'm going to give it a B. I can't give it an A. As much as I love Teen Wolf, there were some things that I think are legitimate issues with the show, with the movie, but not something that would really pull it down into like the C level. I thought this was a good, solid movie for what it was being made for. This wasn't meant to be a blockbuster movie. It was never going to win any kind of awards. It's not meant to be that. It's meant to satisfy Teen Wolf fans. It's meant for us to sit down and watch and love and see these characters we've loved for so long. And I think it did a very good job of that. I've enjoyed it. I have watched it at least 4 times already, maybe a 5. And that's not counting pulling out the clips to put in the video. And so with that, I really like it. It's a B easily for me. And I hope everyone will continue to watch, and hopefully we can get some more movies. With that, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. I can very much use those subscribers. Like the video and comment below, and I'll see you next time on the Fandom Realm.